The next feature that I want to cover, I want to call workflow. Ableton's made literally hundreds of improvements in Live 10, but they've really put a lot of thought into the workflow of the arrangement view. While nobody disagrees that session views where you get creative and start songs and also perform songs, arrangement view is where we finish songs and make final touches and do deep edits and a lot of polish. So we end up spending a lot of time here, and workflow is really important. I've got the demo set loaded up here again. Let's cover some of the improvements in the arrangement view when it comes to workflow and working with Live 10. I'm going to use the zoom techniques I just talked about to look into this clip. So I select it, hit Z, and it zooms right in. Now let's say that we have several other tracks that are zoomed vertically, and now we want to scroll up and down inside the timeline. You can do that using the mouse wheel, and Shift and mouse wheel will scroll right to left inside the timeline. In the past, in order to move a clip or parts of the clip, you had to select the clip header. Now you can grab anywhere in the top half of the clip and you can move the clip around or parts of the clip around. To select, you can choose anywhere in the bottom half of the clip and then grab it at the top half of the clip. Note that when you select and move, it's going to snap according to your grid settings. Or you can hold down the Command key, and when you select and move, it can occur off-grid. If you have a piece of a clip that's been split and you want to move the audio position inside the clip, Option and Shift will change the cursor to a pointer, and now you can move the audio position inside the clip around. Let's see what's happening inside the sample editor. Option Shift and move, and you can see that it's changing the start and end points of the audio clip. The same is true with MIDI clips. I can select by clicking and dragging in the bottom half of the clip. I can drag by grabbing the top half of the clip. I can also go in and now change the position inside the MIDI clip. If a clip is warped, I can stretch it right inside the arrangement view without having to deal with warp markers. Let's say I've got this clip here that I want to stretch out the ending. I'm going to go ahead and delete the ending of that clip. I'm going to take the cursor to the edge and hold down the Shift key, and it allows me to stretch the clip. And as always, you can use Complex or Complex Pro options to make the stretching algorithm sound better. You're able to do all of these things without ever touching the warp markers down below. That's a fantastic improvement and a huge time saver. Automation is now not visible on its own. To see it, you have to either click this button here, or you can hit the A key. Now, in this case, looking at this track, it shows that there's no automation actually programmed. If you go ahead and select the mixer, or you select any of the automatable parameters, Live will automatically choose the automation, as has been the case in previous versions of Live. You can also add multiple automation lanes, as you were able to do before. Let's delete the automation in the master track. I'm going to go to the master track, I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to delete the automation and zoom back out. One of the things I like using is reverse crashes in my mixes to build tension just before the beat drops. So I'd like to do that here. The old way of doing things is create a track, drag and drop a crash, go into the clip properties and click on the reverse button, then warp the clip and then mess with the BPM to sometimes stretch it out a little bit more than you need. Then to go back to the clip header, drag it out so that you're approximating where you need to go. And hopefully it sounds about right with a little bit of experimentation. Okay, so that's not bad, but the process is kind of cumbersome. Let's see how we do it in Live 10. I'll create an audio track. I'll drag in the crash. I'm going to hit R to reverse it. I'm going to warp it. I'm going to hold the cursor here and hit the Shift button, and I'm simply going to stretch it out. A lot quicker, a lot easier. Let's switch gears and talk about the browser. While it's not directly related to workflow enhancements in the arrangement view, you do refer to the browser for almost everything you do in Live, so let's jump right in. Live 10 has implemented a tagging system called Collections, and it is a color-coded way to tag almost any item inside your browser. The way it works is you can select almost anything. Let's say I love the new wavetable, and I particularly love this one preset. I can choose one or any number from 1 through 7 to give it the associated color. 1 is mapped to favorites, and you can see that now that preset is showing up inside favorites. If I want to go to collections and hit the edit button, it allows me to toggle which colors I see or don't see. This also allows me to toggle things inside my categories. For example, if I don't use samples or clips very often, inside my categories, I don't have to see it if I don't want to. When I hit done, they go away. If I go back to edit, I can always bring them back. If I use the context menu, I can rename them to something different from their default tags. I like reds as favorites. I like to go ahead and use orange as drums. And let's go to my loops and samples where I use a certain number of kick drums pretty frequently. So I'll take the whole folder and I can either drag it into drums, or I could have simply used the number 2 to add the tag. You'll notice that if I push the number 2 again, it toggles the tag off. But let's keep the tag on there for now. That also shows up in the drum tag. Let's say that I rename yellow to pads. And now if there's a particular pad that I like, again, I can put that in pads, or I simply could have chosen the number 3. I've just scratched the surface with respect to the workflow improvements and the organizational improvements that have gone into Live 10. For those of us that have tons of samples, lots of live packs, the organizational improvements are a godsend in terms of finding things that I use over and over. And for those of us that live in the arrangement view, these workflow improvements are going to make audio editing so much better. I really hope that you're starting to see how much more powerful Live 10 is. It's a massive upgrade on many levels.